Okay, we're live. Yeah. Just do some quick check. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. We're live across platforms. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter, and we're live on LinkedIn. Okay. Yes. All right. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on another episode of An Hour with a Manager from wherever you're joining us from. We really appreciate. And I hope you all had a very wonderful day, or you're having a wonderful day from wherever you're joining us from, or you're listening to this very wonderful discussion today. I'm Ubong Matthew, your host for this very podcast. And like I said, we're going to be here for as long as possible. However, the motivation takes us, we'll continue to move with it. And so thank you very much once again, everybody, for tuning in and always trusting us to always deliver quality information to you every Thursday of the week. And that makes a whole lot of sense. And it keeps us motivated. It keeps us encouraged. It keeps us going. It keeps us knowing fully well that, okay, it means we have people who are really, really anticipating this discussion, who are anticipating all that we're going to share in today's conversation. So thank you very much once again. Today, I have here a very important guest, a distinguished guest, who will be sharing deep information and insights on the key topic of today in person of Austin. Mr. Austin, good to have you today.
Good evening. Good to
Yeah,
have
good
me.
evening. Yeah. How are you doing? How was the day? How
I'm
did you prep
good.
for
I'm good.
the report? Hello,
Right.
can you hear me?
Good evening, Obong, and welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're logging in from. My name is Austin Agwaraonye, and this evening we're going to be discussing the it's it's actually an area I'm very passionate about, and I like Ubong to take over and moderate if there's any other thing. Otherwise, then we'll get going.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And we'll be looking forward to those insights. And to everybody who's listening to us today, please, wherever you're joining us from, if you have any question, any comments, any contributions, any suggestions or whatsoever, please feel free to send them to my DM, or you send them to the comment box of this very conversation. I'm actually looking at it as usual. You know very well, I'll always be in the comment box to check and see those fire informations that you'll be sending in. So whatever information or insight you have about this discussion today, please send them in. You have a question, send them in. You don't want anybody to know who sent the question, send it to my DM, and I'll definitely share them with our guests today and make more engaging and more interesting conversation. So to everyone, if you had joined us in our previous discussion on how to start your journey in product management, which was last week Thursday, and that was a very, very insightful one with Adalbi, right? That very podcast had so many insightful information on what you need to do if you're transitioning from a normal role, from an individual role to a managerial role, and if you had to journey into product management, what you need to do, what are those steps, right? What are those steps you need to take, and who you need to connect with, how you need to work with your team, right? So if you didn't watch that stream, please do well to follow up on that stream. You can search that on our YouTube. And when you go there, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube to get more insight and more updates. But so far, this week, we're looking at how to manage professional and networking relationships, right? And this is towards the end of the year, and we have a lot of people who are asking, I've built a couple of relationships, I've built a couple of network. I don't know how to maintain them. I'm looking for how to maintain them, or I don't know what to do to maintain them. Or do I have to be in everybody's DM to try to be all psycho fans? yeah, even if I don't like this person, I just have to act like I do like the person. But sometimes you understand that if you're really truthful about networking, if you're really truthful about building a really solid relationship, if you're really truthful about building a lasting brand, either personal brand or a business brand, you understand that it goes beyond just being psychofancy. It goes beyond psychophancy, right? Because when you're networking, when you're trying to establish a positive relationship, it's a win-win situation. So it goes beyond just, oh, I'm doing it for myself or I'm doing it for that person, but I'm doing it so that we two can all win together. But our guest today would go deeper into this conversation to let us know those little things that are missing behind, those little things that are missing behind that we don't really see, but we take for granted probably. That makes more sense to help us lead a very successful professional relationship or professional life. So once again, welcome everybody to this very discussion. If you're joining alone, as I say, do well to share the link across. Don't sit here to watch alone. I won't feel very comfortable when you're here alone. My team won't be comfortable with you watching this alone. So share this across with your friends. Reach out to your boss, invite your employees, invite your team, your friends, well wishers. Share it on your WhatsApp status, wherever you need to share it, wherever you do engage in your group. Send the link across there. Let's make this discussion a very insightful one and one to always remember and look back for. And trust me, how we promote it, we're going to have more and more and more of this because Mr. Austin has a lot in store for us. Okay, so to get on board with our discussion for today, first, we would like to know more about our guest. Let him share his wealth of experience. He has over 30 years of experience. And a lot of people will be wondering, oh, when did he gather all of this knowledge? How did he start it? And maybe I'm just 2 years, I'm 3 years, I'm 5 years, I'm 10 years, but this is 30 years down the line. So, Mr. Austin, please talk to us. How has the past 30 years professionally been? And also, personally, how has it been? How has the journey been? Please talk to us. Thank you.
Well, yeah, like somebody would say, it's never all smooth. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, and then you find your level. It all started from the public sector, right after graduation. The Nigeria Airports Authority, that's where it all started. And then veered into banking, the defunct Allied Bank, all in Human Resources Management Department. And then in 1998, moved over to Diamond Bank, the defunct Diamond Bank. And from there, I was there two times, really, from 98 to 2008, and then got called back in 2011 and went all the way again to 2016. And I went into, um, in between, I was still in the financial services sector, but non banking, a company called Futureview Financial Services. And then from there, I moved back to Diamond Bank, and then from Diamond Bank to a conglomerate into oil and gas, manufacturing, real estate, and the rest of them. It's called AZ, Chikasin Group. And then from there, right now I'm back to the oil and gas industry. Um, Let me keep that private for now, but it's an oil and gas company into production, exploration, production of oil and gas. So here I am. I have a background in psychology, and all my work life has been in resource management from the perspectives of human and material resource management. The majority of it has been in human resource management, but a few times out there in materials management. That's what you might call admin. So that's how it is. I'm a certified trainer. I've had quite a number of training sessions with several companies cutting across several industries. And so here I am today. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much for that. That's a very amazing journey. I'm trying to imagine the undertone, the challenges, the whole what do you call it, the whole challenges, the whole battles you had to face, the whole what do you call it, the whole times you had to tell yourself, no, I cannot do it, but I need to try again. How did those times help shape the entire career path? How did it help you shape your entire career path?
Well, as you would imagine, yes, there have been times of ups and downs, but then you couldn't survive such times without fellow human beings. And that's where networking comes in. There are times when there have been occasions where one was out of job, but how did you get back on stream? Through human beings. In fact, the last one was more dramatic and from an unexpected, most unexpected source. But it's all the power of network. And all it teaches me is don't underrate anybody, because the contacts you may need could come from a source you never expected. I'll tell more about it as we go ahead. And then another thing is grit, that never say no attitude, because from time to time in your career, there will come times when you think, why me? Why is all this happening to me? But then with grit, with determination, with focus, you sooner or later find yourself coming back on stream. So that's it.
Wow, thank you very much for that. And I'm so looking forward to hearing more of those experiences, because I know there's never a journey without challenges. There's never a journey without success. There's never a journey without times where you have to feel like you're going to have to give up, but still you just say, let me give you one more time and let me give you one more try and let's see if this effort will be rewarded. And boom, you're finally being rewarded, and you're like, wow, okay, this happened and we have to move to the next one. But thank you very much for that. Okay, so today we'll be looking at five very important points. One is going to be: do you think you know someone? Like what Mr. Osa already mentioned, how to dig our well before we get thirsty, how to understand your terrain and the power play dynamics, effective communication and not fluency in speech, and three destructive and effective phrase, right? Like the three-letter word, which we also learned from Mr. Austin, and the concept of emotional bank. So if you're yet to share this link, like I said, we are about to get down to business. So please feel free to share the link. Good afternoon, Dr. Marcia. Thank you very much for joining us from the US. We appreciate that. Okay, so far, in your own concept, Mr. Austin, what would you say networking is? What would you say networking really is for those who are hearing this theme or for the first time, or probably those who are already familiar with it? But what would you say networking is?
Right. Networking is a social skill that involves creating contacts, getting in contact with people, but not just leaving it at that, getting to know the people, but not just that, also getting to let the people know you. Because if I ask right now, how many of you know the managing director of your company? How many of you will recognize him if you saw him on the corridor? How many of you would recognize your head of state if you ran into him on the streets? I'm sure everybody will raise his hands. But why is it that you are not doing one or two things for him? Why is it that you're not benefiting directly from him in a one-on-one relationship? Perhaps because he doesn't know you, or he doesn't know you enough to, deal with you at that level. So as much as you are letting the person, getting to know the person, also let the person know you. That's one thing about networking. So networking is a social skill that involves getting into contact with people, but not leaving it at that, going a step further to build a relationship with that contact. I mean, all of us travel, all of us go into events, all of us, fly, all of us live go to church, mosque, and the rest of them, wherever you meet people. And I'm sure on a daily basis we run into several people. We meet a lot of people. Those are contacts. But what do you do with those contacts? A couple of times you fly 20 hours, 30 hours, and 10 hours, 6 hours, or 1 hour, and the person sitting right next to you might be the person that holds the key to one of the problems you are facing. But all you do with that person is hi, hi, and you mind your business and he minds his own, and you fly 10 hours, 7 hours, and you land, and nothing comes out of it. But if you are astute with networking, it will tell you to build, nurture that contact, build it into a relationship, sustain it, get a person's contact, call once in a while. So social networking or networking is an art of making contacts, but going ahead to build a relationship out of that contact, which at this stage is still one-on-one, But going beyond that, building a lot of those contacts and then linking them up into a network, or if you might call it a web work of social contacts. But that is not just building it into a network, but that relationship will have to be purposeful. Purposeful in the sense that it will have to be mutually beneficial to both yourself and the other person at the other end. So to me, that's my own explanation of networking. A social skill where you create contacts, make contacts, nurture them into relationships, link the several contacts into a network where you could be of help and value to one another.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, when you're mentioning what do you call it, web, the whole social network web, and I'm like, I came across a concept, right? I came across a concept they call network web. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's I think it's an amazing concept. But in your own knowledge, what do you think a network, what do you call it, a network web looks like in this context of it's the whole social concept and connecting with people?
Well, I wouldn't say I have explored that officially, but when I talk about a web work, what I mean personally is that,
Okay.
well, you have a contact with one person, that person has with another person, that person has with another person. But if I ask you right now, how many contacts do you have in your phone, on your phone? An average person will probably say, well, 200, 300, 400, and that may be it. But is it possible that for each of the 200 persons that your neighbor, your first line network, contact has, that you could also make them your own personal contacts? And if you have 200 persons, and each of the 200 persons you have also has 200 persons, how many contacts do you possibly have? 40,000 people that you can reach through one person or the other. So by the time you compound it, which is one of the good qualities of networking, by the time you compound it, you probably discover that you have 40,000 persons in your web that you can reach with probably two levels of contacts. That to me is a web work. It has gone beyond just a network.
Wow. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I just noticed that my network here, I'm not seeing you move again, so I wanted to be sure. All right, but thank you very much for that, for breaking that down. Yes, a web, right? Lately I had to sit back again to like building an out with the manager itself. First of all, then we always had to go out to look for guests. Every time to go out to look for guests, we have to be on LinkedIn every day of the week. We're sending out emails to lots of people, over 50 or 100 in a week, expecting that at least we should have at least maybe 3 or 4 persons who would say, okay, yes, I'm going to be available to respond to be a guest, to feature as a guest. But so far, going back at what we've done for the past, let me say, for the past couple of weeks, we've been blessed to also benefit from this concept you share with us, that from 2 guests, we've been able to have more, we've been able to have 4 or 5 more guests ahead of the month, ahead of September and even October. You understand? So probably if we did have to go into that process to maybe to look in depth on, okay, the guests we have, do they really know other people that we are looking for? Do they really have other connections that we're looking for? And I think from there we get to build it. And thank you very much for sharing that. But in all, do you think building a networking relationship, right, like you've talked about, do you think it's all dependent on just social media, or it all dependent on maybe phone calls, or do you have to maybe have a physical talk, or maybe do you think maybe if I had to go over, maybe if I have to stay away for maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 1 month, I don't get to connect with you. Are we still networking? Are we still in a good relationship with each other? Maybe for the benefit of those who might be asking something like this.
Yeah, that's one of the fallacies of networking. You are not in a network with somebody if you just have a one-off contact with the person. You're not if somebody is not in your network if you have not built a relationship with that person, because that contact wouldn't be of much value to you anyway. So the person is only considered to be in your network when you try to nurture that relationship, that build that contact into a relationship that is sustainable, and then use that relationship to reach out to some other more relationships. That is when it becomes network. So it goes beyond just meeting somebody. It goes to building a relationship, nurturing it, and then using that relationship to reach out to others. I'll give you an example. Today, um, let's see the way you and I got to meet.
Of course.
You reached out to Ben, and you were looking for somebody to anchor to participate in this program, and Ben said, "Oh, I may not be chanced, but I have a friend whom I think will be able to do that." Through Ben, you reached me, and then when you sent me the invite, you said, "Spread it out, send to other friends of yours." And then I forwarded it to quite a number of people, and I'm sure some of them are here today. So I couldn't send it to those people if I didn't have a relationship with them. If I had just met them and left it at that, I could only send it to people that I know would like to listen, would be interested in something like this. So
Yes.
networking goes beyond just meeting the person. And then let's look at it from this perspective again. Relationships have stages. I think they have like 3 stages. The first one is when you met the person, you build a first-time relationship, friendship, perhaps in school. You know that a lot of people who are in government today are leveraging on the relationships they built while they were in school.
Yes.
Now, you met somebody in school, that's first stage. You people were pals in school, you were friends in school, and then after graduation, what happens? Everybody goes his way, right? But do you take time to keep in touch with those persons, even when you are no longer physically in contact with them? Do you take time to continue that relationship? Call once in a while, do a favor once in a while, make investments into the person's emotional bank account once in a while, and let that person reciprocate. That's the way you nurture the relationship. So that 20 years, 30 years down the line, when you have need, you could still call on that person, and the relationship is still as fresh as if you built it, you made the contact first time yesterday. That's how to sustain it.
That's true. Wow, that's valid. That's valid. Thank you very much for that in depth. So I just want to go quickly to one of the points which we are supposed to talk about today. First point, which is, do you think you know someone? Why do you think that question is very, very important when you're building a network?
Sorry, you faded away at a point. I couldn't hear you again.
Okay, so I'm emphasizing on our first point of conversation today, which is the question of, do you think you know someone? Why is that question very important for anyone who is trying to build a solid network?
Okay, do you think you know someone?
Yes. Do you think you know someone? Yes. And who do you think you know?
All right. In the first place, you ask yourself, who do you think you need to know? Why do you think you need to know the person? Who do you think you need to know to achieve what you want to achieve, to reach the goal you want to reach? And is it just everybody you run into that you think you can reach out to for an assistance or for a favor or to add some value in your life? Is there an extent to which you will know that person before you could feel free to ask for a favor or for that person to add value to you? There is an extent to which you should know the person. Yes, you could meet somebody for the first time and you go ahead and ask for a favor and the person does you that favor. It could happen. But then, for you to be confident enough to say, I know this person, there are certain things you must know about the person. And there are certain things that person must know about you as well. That is where you have a relationship. Relationship is all about, you know me and I know you. I've done one thing for you before and you've done one thing for me before. I have created an imbalance in our value sharing that the person will want to, in the law of reciprocity, he would like to reciprocate. So it is only when you have gone that level you've interacted with the person on a sustainable level for a while, to an extent, that's when you claim to know the person. And it's also when that person also knows you to a certain level. That's when you will know that you have a relationship. Like I said before, I'm sure if I ask you, do you know this governor of your state? If you saw him on the road, would you recognize him? The answer is yes. But does he know you? The answer is no. And that's probably why you would not feel free to walk up to him and say, please, I need this and I need that. Could you help me do that? Or could you help me do this for so person or that? So for you to claim to know somebody, you would have known a few things about that person, and that person would also have known a few things about you.
Okay, so not everybody would say, yeah, I don't. I might probably want to know people, and I'm asking, oh, do I know someone, or don't I know this person? Is it? Do you have to wait until you have something to do, or you have priorities, or you have maybe a purpose, like a brand or a business, before you want to network? Or because going by your concept, maybe I might say, okay, no, I don't really have need to connect to this person yet. Let me just wait. Let me not connect to anybody yet. Do I have to wait till it's important before I start asking those questions? Who do I know? Who do I have in my contact list, or who don't I know? Or it's something that needs to happen, like a continuous process?
That takes us to the first point of our discussion. Dig your well before you get thirsty. I think I picked that up from Harvey Mackay.
Yes.
Dig your well before you get thirsty. So build your network before you need them. Let me share a personal life example. I had two of my children who were in school. I live in Lagos, but I have two of my children who were in school in Cross River State. And during the COVID period, these children were there. They didn't come back to Lagos. A family was taking care of them. Each time they were on a very short vacation, they would stay with that family. I have a brother who is a priest, a reverend father in that place, Obudu, Cross River State, but they were not living with him. Each time they were on holiday, they spent their holiday with a family. So at a point, I was asking him, who are these people who are taking care of my children? He just smiled and laughed it away. Then sometime in 2020, I had cause to have a surgery in Enugu. And this lady came all the way from Obudu, Cross River State, to come and see me in hospital in Enugu. And that's when I pinned it down on my brother and said, you must tell me who these people are. Tell me, who are these people that are so nice to me without even knowing me? That was when he laughed and said, do you remember about 4 years ago, I once told you that a friend of mine was traveling to India on invitation by a company. And he didn't have anybody in Lagos in whose house to stay and take off from. And I asked whether he could stay a night or two in your house. And you said, very well, let him come. That man came, stayed 2 nights with us, took off from my house, traveled to India. On his way back, he came back again, stayed 2 nights with us before traveling back to his base in Cross River State. He said, the woman who has been taking care of your children is his wife. So at the time, I thought I was doing, a humanitarian thing, allowing the man to stay with us for 2 days before traveling. Did I know I was going to need him 4 years down the line? No. I'll share another example. In the last place I worked before this place I'm working now, I had a woman who was our caterer, a caterer. She used to come and serve us food and the rest. And once in a while, she will run into some challenges, financial and otherwise. And to the extent I could, I will come to her assistance. And then as time went on, I left the place. She too left the place. But one day, after my surgery, because I had to temporarily leave paid work after my surgery, just to recuperate. One day I was, relaxing in my house, and I got a call from this lady. And she said, Augustine, the place I serve food now, I overheard the head of HR talk about them needing somebody in human resources. Would you come and have lunch with him. I said, okay. Dressed up, went, had lunch with that man, and guess what? He said I should share my CV, and I did. That same night, that same night, this same man got my CV from two other different sources. These are also people that I had met at one point in time or the other. At the time I met them, at the time I thought I was, making a deposit in my emotional bank account with them. Did I know I was going to need them 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, 6 months down the line? No. So dig your well before you get thirsty. At every point in time you run into somebody, nurture a relationship. You never can tell where you will need or meet that person again. That has always been um, my mantra. Thank you.
Wow, that is very personal and deep. Thank you for sharing that personal experience. And I must say, I'm a product of network, and yes, I'm very very much happy to have this discussion today. And to everyone who's listening, I'm seeing Eva. Thank you for joining us, Eva. Yes, it's a very wonderful discussion. Thank you, Dr. Marcia, for your input. I'm seeing the comments here. Yes, networking points to your net worth. Very important. To everybody who's listening to us across different platforms, please keep streaming, keep sharing the link, and keep inviting your folks to join us. Let's make this conversation worth it. If you have any question, my DM is wide and open. The comments box is also open for that. And lest I forget, we have a community link in the comments box, our community link. So it's on Slack. So please feel free to also click that link, and let's have more discussion on the community. Let's have more in-depth conversations in the community. I'll be very, very much happy to see you there moving forward. So yes, back to this. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin, for that's in depth and for sharing those stories, right? Because we might say, let's just burn the bridge very early, and that brings me to the question I just received here from my audience, saying, is there a time where you had to burn a bridge with all of the stories you've shared, all of the amazing things that have happened? Because yes, building a network doesn't just start immediately. Sometimes it might be opportune to you connect today, things good, something good happens the next minute, right? That can happen, and sometimes it might connect today, and it might take the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. But definitely one day something good is definitely going to come out of it. But is there ever a time in this whole period where you had to burn the bridge? Is there ever a time where you had to say no? This very network, no, I don't need to connect with this person. This person don't need to be on my network. No matter what, even if it's going to be just you alone, I think I rather prefer not to connect, not to even know you, than to say, oh, let me add you up to my network or the network of people I can say I know.
Yeah. I think it was Leah Coker who said, "Your life will remain the same the next 5 years as it is today, except for two things. Number one, the books you read. Number two, the people you meet. Now, the people you meet could change your life for the better or for the worse. And so, um, there could be a time when you assess your relationship with somebody and you think that person is having a terribly negative influence in your on your life, and you might want to um, limit your relationship with the person. There are some people that may be part of your inner circle. There are also some people who might also be at arm's length, you know. But the point is this: for me as a person, my personal philosophy is I would rather not know you than to know you and then break up in such a way that you become my enemy. I would rather not know you at all, rather than adding one more person who I have a disaffection for in the first place.
But
So instead of
how will you
letting,
know? How will you know this person is going to give a negative impact to your life
no, of
when
course
you've not
you would
connected
not
with
know
them?
at the point of at inception. You might not know, but I
Yeah.
mean, um, um, as time goes on, you are assessing yourself because the first point of success in life is know yourself. Get to know yourself, know your goals, your aspirations, know your purpose in life. And when you know all these things, as you go on the trajectory of life, you now begin to meet people and you begin to assess them, and you know those whose philosophies, whose orientations to life resonate with yours. And you find out consciously or unconsciously, you begin to gravitate towards those people. But sometimes situations can be deceptive. You gravitate towards somebody, and then you discover that that person isn't really the kind of person you would like to get into good relationship with. You might not want to continue um, an in-depth relationship with that person, but it still pays to keep that person at least at a high level, not to get into. I've had people who have hurt me. I've had people who have cheated me. I've had people who have done one or two bad things to me. But instead of burning that bridge completely, I would rather leave it to float on its own, but not be intimate with the person. I mean, very close with the person, so as not to have a repeat of such experiences. That's where I would like to put it.
From your point, do you think from one person you always have a repeated experience? Is it like a pattern?
Sorry?
I'm asking, right? You just ended your point by saying it's better not to have that repeated again. And I've also had this thought to myself because I know one thing for sure. What you accept is what life or the universe or God will bring back for you, right? In one way or the
Yeah.
other, right? So now, is it okay because, like you mentioned, so that it doesn't repeat itself again? Is it okay not to, even find yourself in that space? Maybe just burn the bridge, cut it off, so we don't repeat this again, so that it doesn't be because of this person, this same thing happens again the next time. Because definitely, I still have that feeling that this same pattern will always show itself again to ask you, oh, truly, did you really make your decisions right or did you make your decisions wrong?
Well, there might be extreme cases where you might need to be that decisive and cut off completely. But remember, you're also a human being and you're dealing with human beings too. There are
Yes.
chances that the person might change. And remember, when somebody hurts you, in the concept of emotional bank accounts, when somebody hurts you or does something wrong to you, if that person has conscience, he has made a withdrawal from his emotional bank account with you. And he has created an imbalance that if he is somebody who has conscience, he might be looking for an opportunity to make it up. That is if he has conscience. But there are some people who that is their nature, who would always want to explore avenues of um, probably lording it over you or taking advantage of you. If you notice that maybe, just maybe, you might consider cutting off completely. But I mean, we are all human beings. It's always good to give other people a second and perhaps a third chance. What did the Bible say? If your neighbor, how many times would your neighbor offend you before would your brother offend you before you completely call it quits with him? Is it 70 times? Or is it 70 times, 7 times, 70 times?
70 times.
Right.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Austin. And I think we're having a very hyped up audience here from YouTube. Chukudi is saying, Austin, I know you will always deliver, and thank you for trusting our guest here today. Right, so please, I want you to help our audience explain the meaning of emotional bank account. I think I'm having that here. What should they understand by emotional bank account? Please, let's also learn that together here.
Right. The concept of emotional bank account is one of those concepts that we deal with in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Emotional bank account says between me and Ubong, just the way Ubong maintains an account with UBA or Zenith or Access Bank, that same way I have an account with you and you have an account with me. Each time, the currency of that account is emotion. Now, each time I do you a favor, I'm making a deposit in my emotional bank account with you. Each time I offend you, I am making a withdrawal from bank that account. Each time I make a concession to you, if I concede something to you, I'm making a deposit. Each time you make a concession to me, I am making a withdrawal and you are making a deposit. So Ubon gets home from work and his wife runs out, welcomes him with so pleasantly, almost unusually pleasantly, takes your briefcase, and before you even step into the house, she has kept it and told you that warm water is waiting for you to have your bath. And as you step in to have your bath, your food is ready. Your best delicious food is on the dining. And you settle down to eat, and as you're eating, she's stroking the back of your head. Ubong, tell me, what would you say? What do you want?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. What do you want? Straight to the point,
So
because
what she's
something
trying to do is
it's
humanize.
unusual.
What she's trying to do is to humanize. She's trying to
Yeah,
make a lot of deposits. Now, Ubong, if you have an account with UBA, could you possibly go to UBA to make a withdrawal if you didn't make deposits? No. So if I haven't made some deposits in my bank account with you, if I ask you for a favor, what's the likelihood that you will do me that favor? Versus if I have done you a lot of favors. So that's it. It works on the principle of reciprocity. If I do you a favor, I have tilted the balance of my emotional, what would I call it now? Account with you. So you would be looking for ways of making it up to me. So when I do you a favor, you would also be looking for a way of doing me a favor. So when I do you a favor, I've made a deposit. Now you owe me one. And at any given opportunity, you might want to return that favor. That's what it is all about.
wow, that's a very amazing
And it
concept.
plays
But
out every now and then in our daily lives and all that.
of course it does. Of course it does. And I was just about asking now. In the case where you find people who feel maybe you might feel oh, maybe I'm doing too much. Is there a time where you feel maybe you're doing too much, or you're putting out too much favors, that, oh no, I don't need to give out too much favors, I just need to look back again at what I'm doing and see how to, maybe reduce it a little bit, since this person is not reciprocating back? Because I know when you're networking, it's give and take, right? We benefit from each other. It might not be immediately, it might be later in the future, but how do you get to feel that way out?
Well, somebody was asked to define intelligence, and he said intelligence is the ability or capability of any organism to make use of whatever exists in its environment to succeed in that environment. So it takes your intellect to weigh and know when you have gone too far, when you have made too much deposit. But can you really ever make too much deposit in a bank account? Knowing that you are storing it for a rainy day. So, I mean, why I brought the issue of intelligence is it's a relative thing. It depends on you. It depends on where you think you've done too much for this person. Now, it's also relative in the sense that you may have done so much for the person, but the person probably hasn't done much for you. Have you had any need that that person can solve? Do you know when you will have the kind of need that only that person will be able to solve? You probably may have been doing that person the financial favors all his life, all your life. And at a point, you think you've done so much. Yes, we as human beings, each and every one of us will probably gone to that level. But do you consider that there might also be a time when you might need a help from that person and it may not be financial? And then another thing is this. To me, I believe that each time you do a favor to a fellow human being, you are really not doing it to that person alone. You are actually making an investment in the universe. And the universe has a way of paying you back. Not necessarily through that same person you did that favor, but maybe
Always.
through someone
Yeah.
else. So, as much as possible, keep doing the favors you're doing. You might get your own through somebody else. That's my own position.
Thank you for that. I really love the fact that you say the universe always pay back. So yes, I would say yes, yes, and yes to anybody who is doing the favors. Please don't stop. Don't stop doing favors, even if it hurts sometimes. I know those times when it might feel like, oh no, I'm doing too much, I'm giving it too much. But well, the universe always reward not directly from who you are helping, but from someone you don't even know, someone you least expect. And I know how that plays out. And I just want to drive us a little bit to one of the points which is very much interesting, which I know we might find here a lot on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think mostly you might find out on LinkedIn, right? Where you always find people who would say, yeah, talking about fluency, I know how to communicate, I know how to speak, I know how to talk to people, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. But first, what what is really effective communication when you're networking? What is really that effective communication? Not about speaking English, not about saying I know how to do this, I know how to do that. But what is really effective communication when you're networking with someone, when you're trying to build a solid relationship that will last and stand the test of time?
Right. Communication becomes effective only when your intention, what you communicate, what the person on the other end receives is what you intended to communicate. And so when you're networking, remember, one of the first steps in networking is to define your purpose for networking. And when you meet somebody and you strike up a conversation, what is your intention? Perhaps just to first get acquainted with the person, right?
Yes.
And your choice of words, what impacts do they make? So it's not just words. You see, when you say, I know how I can speak grammar, I can speak fluently, you know, who was it? Somebody says you should go beyond communicating to connecting. Your communication will not make the desired impact unless you connect with that person at the emotional level. The kind of emotion that your words are accompanied with are what will give your words the meaning that your recipient, your audience will get. So your communication becomes effective when you mix it with the right emotion and strike the right chord in the audience. If you intended to say to somebody on a jocular note that he is a speed star, for instance, and you use the figure of speech, oh, bros, this guy is a dog, meaning that he's a speed star.
Yeah.
What if that person understands it from the perspective that
In a negative way.
somebody is something else? You know, you can tell somebody that his father is an idiot and he says, you're right, you know. You can also tell somebody that his father is an idiot and he hits you with a hammer on your head before he start asks you, what did you say?
Of course.
So the circumstance, the words you use in one circumstance, you use it in another circumstance, it becomes a different thing altogether. So you have to be circumspect. You have to choose the right words for the right audience in the right circumstance for your communication to be effective.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And we just got a comment here from our audience, rather a question rather. I'm talking about connecting, right? So maybe we might tilt a little bit. Me mentioning LinkedIn. So let's say if you had to start your journey again and you needed to connect to people, particularly in a professional platform like LinkedIn, how would you nurture the network you have for the benefit of our audience actually who's asking that question? How would you nurture the audience you have in most especially particularly to LinkedIn? How would you nurture it? How would you get to connect to people? Because I know these days if you're not on LinkedIn Premium, you cannot really access people, right? And all of those extra what do you call it, things you need to do. But how do you connect with them and still maintain that network so that it doesn't look too professional? Because I know sometimes on LinkedIn we find everything look very serious. Everybody's looking very serious, looking all with suits and tie and all of those things. But how do you go beyond just looking very serious with suits and ties to probably wearing pajamas to hang out and wearing t-shirts or shorts to just sit down and get more discussions on business or whatever the case may be?
Let me take it from this perspective. LinkedIn, yes, is a professional social network platform, just like an office setting. How
Yes.
do you convert your office relationships into a sustainable personal relationship? You work for a company today, perhaps as a salesperson or whatever, and you have customers. Tomorrow, if you're out of that office and um, you start your own business, for instance, would you still be able to reach out to those people and get the kind of attention you used to get when you were working, when they were your clients, um, when you were working in the office? It's the same thing with LinkedIn. Yes, it's all serious, but can you take it a step further? You've gotten acquainted with this person. LinkedIn provides you a platform to create the contacts. Now, if you get to know the orientation of that person from LinkedIn, the kind of things that interest him, is it possible you send him a few things that are of personal interest to him? A write-up you stumble onto? This person is an Arsenal fan. This person is a Man U fan, or he is a Barca fan. Is it possible you get a piece of news that is of interest to, you know, that club fan base, and you send it to him privately? That way, you are taking that professional relationship that you nurtured on LinkedIn outside that sphere, and then it becomes a more personal relationship. Same thing could happen in the office. Your relationship with your boss is strictly official, right?
Yes.
But have you wondered? I once had a supervisor whom I knew that she was very, very passionate about talking about her children. And you want to go and ask for a vacation. And you walk into her office and you see the pictures of her children on her desk. Wow, madam, these your children are really growing. Oh. At what class is this one now? You see, she loses her guards. She
Yeah.
begins to discuss her family, her, and then by the time you now drop that request you came with, what happens? You've already softened the ground. You want to request for something official from another department. You work in marketing, you want to request for a car from admin department, and you simply sit down on your desk and write a mail in those officious languages. Kindly issue a car, blah, 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 blah. And the person at the other end receives it. And there's nothing personal about it. He sits down and writes you a reply and says, "Oh, we have received your mail where you quoted, the cap manual section this and subsection that and that. Unfortunately, we have only one car and it's on first come first serve, and we have just issued it out to the person that came first." Has he broken any rules? No. Has he done you any wrong? No. But imagine you sat down to write that mail. After writing it, before you click send, you call him up. "Oh boy, how now?" He says, "Fine. Bros, this one you're sounding drowsy this morning. You like say you get some hangover. Where did you go to drink last night?" And he said, "You think I skipped to say you?" You banter words first and foremost. And then you say, "Bros, I better go. Say the car where we get for, the car we have in our department is now rickety. Is there any possibility of getting another one?" He says, "See you. This is what you should have told me from the onset. So you are calling to ask for a car and you first started yabbing me. Anyway, you are so lucky. I just have one. Better go and send your mail. No, 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 no. You'll get it." Which one works for you better? So even though LinkedIn provides a platform for serious professional networking, you could take it a step further by going a little personal, but being careful about it. Finding out, even in that professional orientation, there are certain areas that are the person's personal interest. If you think that this person is somebody you would like to build a personal relationship with, you can go, even still using that LinkedIn platform, send him a few things that are personal. Chances are he might call you up and say, "Where did you find this book? I would like to read it. Where did you get this product? I would like to." you also have it. So that's my response to that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that follow-up story. It's really, really detailed. And I hope everyone who's here is actually benefiting the value of this information, the quality of the information, because, like I said, and now with the Manager's Live podcast is not only for Ubo Matthew. It has grown from being for Ubo Matthew to being for everybody, for a global community. And if you're here and you're not getting the value from it, then it means you're not utilizing this very discussion properly. And I'm very sure that that is not what we expect of you. We expect that while you're here with us, you should try to get the value out of this and also use that to build your professional career and see how to be flexible, because in networking, like our guests have said, you also have to be flexible sometimes. You have to go beyond just speaking the too much English and just say, oh, let me use it. If this person is from where I come from, either Kenya or from South Africa, let me use Zulu language and then let me communicate with this person probably and then get this deal faster. Because sometimes it can be very stressful to have to wait to respond to a mail and, go back and forth and all of that. But with one phone call, your mail can be of priority and immediately you can get the deal done. So thank you very much, Mr. Austin, for going in depth on that. But before we close up on this, there's one point which I would like us to, or 2 points which I'd like us to just look at quickly. You made mention of a three-letter word, which I've been anticipating, and I really want to know about this letter word. So, what's this three-letter word, and how is it effective for networking and managing your professional network?
Well, the three-letter word I mean there is simple. EGO, ego.
Wow.
If you have to be able to build relationships, you have to rescue yourself of the involvement of ego. I was listening to, I think it was Les Brown, and he said ego, EGO, means edging God out. He used it as an acronym to say edging God out. But you see, ego is a destructive three-letter word. The moment you're doing anything that is has anything to do with another person and you let your ego get on the way, what is ego in the first place? Do you know who I am? I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. And we all know how much it has damaged things. We all know how many things we have done, allowing ego to take the better part of us, and we have come back to regret it. We all know how many marriages ego has broken. Why should I be the one to say those again? That leads us to the next one, which is the three-word phrase that is so simple but very difficult to use. And that, what is that? I am sorry. For as long as you are willing to say this three-word phrase, I am sorry, say it at the right time, say it with the right disposition, say it properly, you could stop even a world war. And what prevents us from using those the three-word phrase is what? Do you know who I am? And what is that? Ego, EGO.
And I cannot say how much ego has really damaged a lot of relationships. Thank you for bringing that up to our notice. And lastly, right, you made mention of the power dynamic, which I know happens very well when you connect to people, right? How do you break past that whole power tussle of, oh, this person is more important, feeling intimidated? No, I don't think maybe this person might be of value to me. He's high, he or she's higher than my class. I don't need to connect to this person. How do you break past that whole, power play, that whole power tussle that, everybody's human. Just look for what is right, like you mentioned, and then get into the heart of this person or get into the mind of this person.
Right. When we talk about being aware of power dynamics in an organization, especially in the workplace, one of the um, areas of emotional intelligence is social awareness, being aware of your environment, especially in the power dynamics of the environment. There is this saying that a general's wife is one rank above her husband.
Yes.
A general's wife is one rank above her husband. There are some people in power. There are some people on the corridors of power. But there are also some people in the bedroom of power. You see, somebody might, by grade, by designation, by the office he holds, might not be high up there, might not be an executive director, might not be a general
Yes.
manager. You may just be a manager, but there are some managers that are more powerful than some general managers. So, in as much as you get to know who is who in terms of the hierarchy, official hierarchy of the organization, you also need to know the subtleties of power dynamics. Who are the ones that are, you know, influential in quotes, not necessarily because of the position they occupy, but possibly because of the people they know, possibly because of the influences they have, possibly for one or two other reasons. Now, when you are dealing with such people and you deal with them based strictly on the positions they occupy in the organization, you might just be taking a career limiting decision.
Why?
Yes, because sometimes certain decisions might be taken based on certain sentiments that you might not be aware of. And the people who might influence those decisions might not be the people in power. They might not be even the people in the corridors of power. They might be the people in the bedroom of power, if you know what I mean. So what am I saying? Treat everybody with courtesy and get to know who everybody is beyond the official, what you know him to be.
Yeah.
Understand the kind of influence each person wields in the organization, officially and unofficially, so that you don't tread on toes you think are ordinary. Meanwhile, they are bigger than what you see physically. Now, when you talk about seeing some people and you think this person is so big that I may not be able to relate with him, the the fundamental principle of networking, building relationships, and getting accepted by the other person is, what value do you bring to the table? The value may not be money, the value may not be things that are tangible that you might think of. The value may just be some intangible things. The value may just be a compliment. Wow, madam, this your hair is looking beautiful today. And she said, oh, really? Thank you. You don't know to what extent that validation makes an impact on that woman. The value may just be, oh, madam, I saw this paper that you signed, and I noticed this error in it. Would you like to take another look at it? And she looks at it and she says, wow. She doesn't want her boss to see that she committed an error in her write-up, and
Yeah.
she takes it from you and corrects it. You've added value. That value might just be, um, okay. Let me say something that happened um, in my office, my former office. One time, my boss used to very much like taking a particular um, um, one of these plants. I think it was garlic, not garlic. One of those
Is it
cloves,
ginger or
cloves.
herbs? Okay, cloves.
He used
Okay.
to like
Yeah.
taking cloves a lot,
Okay.
and I happened to be in his office. This happened a couple of years back. I happened to be in his office one day, and he packed a handful of it, put it in water. The water turned yellow, and he was drinking it. I said, "Wow, you like this?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Yeah, it's very good, but sometimes it's also good to read through these things and know some of them might have some bad side effects." And he said, "Really?" It was only then he went to Google it, and he discovered that it also, even on Google, that it has some side effects. And he came back and he said, wow. Thank you for that information. I've also had a situation where a colleague, a senior colleague who is hypertensive, is on a particular drug. I got information that there is something that you don't take along if you are taking that drug because they are contra whatever.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it, just a suggestion. And he now went to research it and discovered it was true. So providing information could also be a way of adding value. I've also seen a situation where somebody was struggling with a certain kinds of information that his boss needed, and a young person was passing by and saw him struggling with it and said, "Wow, okay, Excel can do help you a lot in this thing." He said, "Well, how?" And you know, this some of these younger generation people, they are more savvy with some of these tech things. And he came,
Yeah.
and in less than 5 minutes, he solved a problem that had been taking this man more than 3 hours to solve. Next time, he was on the panel where promotions were being decided. Guess what happened? He recommended that guy, even though the guy was not in his department. So there are so many ways you could add value to even somebody that is more senior to you. And then a relationship could just take off from there. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin. And we're having a very filled up comment on saying this session is very insightful. And thank you for taking out time, right, to really detail this discussion, because one thing about an hour with a manager is not about us having every week live podcast, right? Like everybody probably expect, but it's the quality and how much we value the discussions we have, because these discussions are discussions that affect every professionals in one way or the other. Because if you miss out of it, you might probably miss out on a whole lot of things. Taking on this very, like for example, this conversation on how to manage your professional network, and also for you taking out time to go in depth to explain how these things happen, to share personal experience. It's something that having to to resonate with it and feel, oh, I've been in this space before, I've been in that space, oh, this is what I would have done differently. I think that is enough for us to think back again. Oh, where did I make errors from? Where did I make mistakes from that I need to go back and cover up? So thank you very much for sharing this in-depth information with us today. And I don't know if personally, because I also like, but I also like to ask my guests, right? Going beyond just talking about networking, going beyond just talking about the topic, going beyond just all of this, how do you see the concept of work-life balance, like between your life and your professional life, like your personal life and your professional life? Do you say, oh, work-life balance is a myth, or would you say that is a very good concept for us to look at? Because I know a lot of people saying, no, there's nothing like work-life balance. It all depends on where you are at a particular stage in your career. But what do you think about that whole concept? Just in brief before we close up on this.
Right. Work-life balance is not a myth. It's real. You see, I think it was Stephen Covey who said there are four aspects to the human nature: the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. And each of these four aspects to your nature will need to be nurtured and built up. If you are faltering in one aspect, it affects the other. The body, that's your physical self, your physical health. How well do you perform in the office if you are not healthy? If you have a headache, for instance, how effective are you? All right. Let's say you are very effective. Let's say you are very healthy physically, but emotionally you are not. You probably had a quarrel with your girlfriend, wife, or significant other, and you carry it to the office. How effective are you on that day? There's a disconnect at your heart. That's your emotional self. Let's say in your body self, that's the body, your physical self, your emotional self, you are healthy. But you had a quarrel with somebody, or you did something wrong to somebody, and your conscience is pricking you. That's your relationship with your God, right? The spiritual
Yes.
side of you.
Yes.
If you are burdened by your spirit, how effective are you in the office?
That day will
So
be in
the body,
shackles.
the mind, the heart, and the spirit, they all have to be nurtured. They all have to be in equilibrium for you to be a fully functional person. Now, the social self, which is nurtured by the emotional balance. If your life is all about work, 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 and you don't have time to spare for your social interactions. Have you ever come across okay, there was one book I read by Connie Podesta. The title is How to Be the Employee That Successful Employers Fight to Keep. And they were explaining a manager who said something like, I worked hard, I made all this success, I built big houses. By all standards, I'm a success story. But I ask myself, is that all there is to life? Today, all I have is success at work. I have no family because my wife left me, and she left with all my children. I have no social relationship. Have you ever run into a retiree who all his work life, he was buried in work? After his retirement, that's another topic for another day. Did he feel retired or refired? Another thing is this. I think it was Les Brown that quoted somebody. He says the best way for a man to die is for the man the worst way for a man to die is for the man to be on his deathbed, and instead of being surrounded by his wife, children, friends, significant others, he's rather surrounded by the dreams that he failed to live up to, the talents that God gave him that he never had an opportunity of exploring, the values that he was supposed to add to life, the services he was supposed to render to humanity that he never had an opportunity of rendering. And all of these things staring at him with a wide, angry eyes and asking him, we came to you by nature, but you never cared about us. Now you are dying and we have to die with you. How miserable. And why is that? Because the person buried himself in work, 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 and work alone. We can all attest to the fact that a lot of us, during our work life, we work because that is the first opportunity that comes our way through which we can earn a living, true or false?
Of course, true.
Beyond what we do today for a living, are there some other talents that God has given us that we have failed to exploit up till now? You see, there is a fundamental difference between success and fulfillment. In my opinion, you could make a success out of any career you choose to pursue, even armed robbery. But you can only consider yourself to have lived a fulfilled life if you make a success on the purpose of your life. Sometimes we pursue careers that are not in line with our purpose. And in such a case, we end up making success without making fulfillment. So work-life balance is very important. And it is only work-life balance that will make you work and have time enough to spare for other things to balance up your life. Social, emotional, and the rest of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Also, for that insight. And thank you for emphasizing on that. And even giving a little bit of our future topic on retirement or refinement, which we're going to come back to that someday. I really appreciate. So everybody who spent the past 1 hour and 70 minutes with us, we say a very big thank you on behalf of all of us on Now With My Job. We say thank you very much for sparing this time. Thank you very much for always helping us to keep this fire burning, because like I said, this is not just for Ubong Matthew. This is not just for our team. This is not just for an hour with manager. It's for everybody. It's for all you professionals, for everybody who's navigating their career, who's navigating their journey in different industries, whatever industries you find yourself. Because in as much as you are out there, in as much as you have something to keep you going, it means you need conversations like this. And that is why we are here to also help you promote and help you question yourself, those things that are very, very important to you. And if you're yet to subscribe to our newsletter, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Tuesday and Friday. Please do also click on the link to subscribe to it. And like I said, join our community. Let's continue to drive more of this discussion. And trust me, never can tell what is going to come out of it, because we have plans for so many things coming up in the future. But that will be a sneak peek for those in our community, actually. So if you want to know more about that, click on the comment box. You find our Slack community, and you can as well join up, and let's continue to drive this conversation. And you know when we're going to bring back the conversation on, is it retirement or refinement? And as well, we have a magazine coming up next month, which is going to be our 2 years anniversary as an hour with the manager. So please, we have a lot in store to bring in front of you, and we have quality information ahead of time to continue to share. But we are here for you, and because you also support us to grow, and because you support us to grow, we also going to do our best to bring the best value, bring the best guests, and also bring the best information to your way. So thank you very much, everybody, for sparing our time with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin, for your wonderful insights, and I'm looking forward to having more discussions like this with you. Before we close out, do you have one word you'd like to say to our audience who are really, really listening to this and feeling very enthusiastic and saying, "Oh, I have to start networking, I have to start connecting with everybody today or tomorrow"?
Let me wrap it up this way. There is this little clip. I give credit to whoever came up with that clip. I think it's in one of these um, comedy shows. A little boy walks up to his headmistress or teacher, and the headmistress said to him, "It's all about what you know. That's what will make you a success in life." And the little boy says, "Not always." And the woman said, "How do you mean?" He said, "My brother says not always." She said, "So who does your brother know?" He said, "Nobody. And that's why he doesn't have a job." You see, I believe in one thing. Whatever it is you need in life or you want in life, God has probably given it to you, but placed it in the hands of somebody else. That person may just be the person that shares the same compound with you and lives upstairs. And the only relationship we share with that person today is, "Madam, could you come and shift your car? I would like to go out." Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Also, for that closeout. Thank you very much, everybody who stayed with us for this very long discussion. And we'll be looking forward to have you again next week, Thursday. We have more impactful conversation. Trust me, between now and the end of the year, it's going to be fire packed for us than now with the manager. So please stay tuned. Share the invite link, join the community, subscribe to our newsletter. Let's continue to learn together and grow together. Good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from. And we'll see you guys next week, Thursday, same time, same station probably, and let's go to learn together. I'm Ubong Matthew, your host for this very podcast. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin. Have a wonderful night rest, and we'll talk some other time. Bye.
Thank you.